Okay, committee of the whole is back in order. We are now on round 3. This is the final round. This is the round for all amendments and final comments on the bill. We'll begin in the first row, beginning with Senator Moylan. Senator Torres.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're not on any amendments right now, but I just keep thinking that the relief that we're all seeking right now as a result of the rising prices has been discussed, and we understand what the impact of that is, but the greater relief, the more long-standing relief is perhaps for another day and for another topic and another combination of relief efforts. So it is my sincere hope that this body entertains the measures for what they are, which is an immediate address of some relief, what we can control right now and identify in terms of liquid fuel taxes, and proceed with that. Because I think we're all grasping at a bigger picture, and really the topic right now is something that is specific to liquid fuel taxes and addressed in a very deliberate and perhaps incremental type of consideration in terms of the moratorium that's proposed in 295. So I'm just hoping that we can all kind of focus on what it is that we're trying to do through this measure and act on this measure. And in terms of addressing the bigger picture, which is the greater relief to people in a variety of formats, that can be also contemplated in the remaining 6 months of the term of this legislative session. So I'm anxious after a whole day of deliberating what really is not a very complicated subject, that we can finally come to some resolution and not deter too far from the base of and the basic premise of what these two bills, 261 and 291 and 295, contemplated. I hope I got that in order. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Torres. Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have an amendment. It's on line 11, page 2. Then this is to add a new section 5 to the bill to read, every person or business, whether engaged in the wholesale or retail of automotive fuel products and who are no longer subject to the levy of excise taxes, automotive surcharges, and mass transit automotive surcharges on liquid fuel shall submit to the Speaker, Guam Guåhan, and the Director of the Department of Revenue and Taxation a written declaration under penalty of perjury declaring that such relief or reduction from the levy of taxes and surcharges herein were in fact not collected from the consumer and are removed from the final cost of liquid fuel products for consumers. Such declaration shall be submitted monthly for the duration of the temporary waiver of taxes and surcharges herein. Mr. Chair, I propose this amendment because there was a mention of the availability or the possibility to assess whether removing the liquid fuel tax will positively impact the consumer. And so we were provided a breakdown of the liquid fuel tax by the kind of tax that was given from DRT, and it's a little bit, it's not a little, it's difficult to discern really whether there are profit margins or not and how it impacts the consumer, especially considering the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, because a lot of us were at home. And so this analysis here is really just a breakdown of costs, and it went as far back as 2016 up to FY 2021. But the challenge here is that we started to see a rise in the gas prices significantly in FY 2022. And I propose this measure to ensure that what we are doing here, removing the liquid fuel tax for 6 months, that we are actually, that savings is actually passed on to the consumers, whereas we're not just adjusting the price and saying, okay, so the price increased, but we're still removing the 14, 15 cents, etc. And the reason why that is because we're also seeing gas increase on a weekly basis. And so this is just a way that we can ensure that the consumer is not being passed on the tax when they purchase their gas. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Nelson. Speaker Talahi. I apologize. On the amendment, there is a
On the amendment.
speaker on the amendment.
Thank you. I have no objection to the amendment. I'm hoping it will result in the information that we want. I just want to note that this was not required at all of any businesses when this body voted to reduce BPT, business privilege taxes, or any other reductions in taxes. But I support the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On the amendment, seeing no one on the amendment, Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do understand that this amendment is a provision within Bill 295 that's going to put a moratorium on the liquid fuel tax, and I understand that we are looking at the immediate impact, but we do have other proposed legislations that are very similar to this, addressing excise tax and tax in general when it comes to the cost of gas. And so I hope my colleagues will support this amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Nelson. On the amendment, are there, Senator Torres?
I just have a simple question. The way that I read this amendment is that it almost declares that there shall be a reduction in the price of gasoline to the consumer that is the equivalent of the liquid fuel tax, and that declaration has to be made. I wonder though, and I want to ask the author of this, was there consideration when you did this, and I understand your point, but there was also much discussion about the fact that prices may come down and that there are variable of other considerations that affect the prices of gasoline. So where liquid fuel taxes may be reduced or taken out and not factored in, there may be other variables that drive the price higher, so, or not result in a reduction. And that, I believe, was discussed several times by the panel. So in some ways, because this is under penalty of perjury, almost implies that somebody is lying because the price didn't automatically go down. You know, is that a fair thing to do to businesses? Because there's, even in the legislative intent, there is no such language that the result of the reduction will or shall reduce the prices of gases. It states that it can, but the panel also discussed variables that would drive a price to fluctuate and not necessarily come down, or if it comes down, go back up again for another reason, separate and apart from the liquid fuels tax. So I wonder if it is, you know, a fair business practice to mandate this without all those considerations that go into the conduct of business.
Yes, thank you for that question. I will yield to that question. Absolutely, you're right. There are a lot of variables that go into the cost of rising gas prices. And some of those variables are the current war between Ukraine and Russia. Another variable is COVID-19 pandemic. And we don't even know how long this interpreted inflation is going to impact our local economy and the global economy. And so in order to ensure that we are making the right decision in removing the liquid fuel tax, we can assess then that, okay, we do see a difference on the consumer on purchasing on the cost of gas. And so this is why I proposed this provision, so that we can also eliminate and determine that maybe tax isn't the issue here, right? Maybe the liquid fuel tax isn't the issue, and perhaps it's only going to benefit the wholesaler. And so that is what I believe is, we're not asking them to look at their books, we're just asking them to declare, to ensure that they're not passing on a continued cost of the liquid fuel tax to the consumer. And even though we did not do this when we decreased the BPT for the other businesses, but on the same token, we did not see a decrease in cost on goods. And so that's my answer to the question.
Senator Torres?
Yeah, just as a follow-up, and thank you for that explanation, but I think where I would disagree with you respectfully is you have here a written declaration under penalty of perjury, and so that implies that there is an examination of whether in fact somebody is true. So it just opens it up to much more than just removing the liquid fuel tax and having them adjust. I mean, when you say to somebody, you tell me, and I'm going to determine if you're lying or not, that implies that there is an audit or something, and that's why I'm saying it. It just seems for this bill, specifically 295, which is really only a 180-day test, more or less, a moratorium. It seems like an awful lot to require, and then it also begs the question of who's going to analyze whether there is, in fact, perjury committed by these companies. So I'm just bringing that up. It's just quite onerous, I believe, for a 6-month period, Mr. Chair. And thank you to the proffer. I appreciate her discussion.
Thank you, Senator Torres. Anyone else on the amendment? Seeing no one, Senator Nelson, you may close.
Okay, I'll close again.
You may close again.
Thank you. I believe that that is open for interpretation, right? The implication of penalty or perjury is open to interpretation. We are giving the flexibility to be honest and to ensure and to write down, because we have testimonies, but they're not agreements. They're not agreements holding the businesses to decreasing the cost of to the consumer. They're not. And so we're giving them the freedom to ensure that, hey, you remove the liquid fuel tax, and so the consumer does see the savings by you removing the liquid fuel tax. And like I said, the implication of it being onerous or not trusting, I don't agree. I believe that we are giving them a lot of feasibility to simply say, to validate that, yes, we did ensure that the cost was decreased to the consumer. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Nelson. On the motion, are there any objections? Seeing no objections, motion carries. Speaker Terlahi, you're recognized.
Round 3? All right.
Yes,
yeah.
we are on round 3.
Thank you. Again, I just want to make I don't have an amendment, but I just want to make a comment on the bill based on what was testified by the panel today. So it looks like we're making, this bill makes a $5 million change to different appropriations. However, it did not make that corresponding change to the anticipated revenues. So in the end, we end up with an unbalanced FY22 budget. And then because of the timing, I guess, of the bill, the 180 days extends into the next fiscal year. So the $5 million is actually more than needed for the current fiscal year. They only need $2.8 million. The next fiscal year, we will take care of in the next fiscal year's budget, but that would be where that additional 3 million, I guess, would, or, you know, the balance of the 5 less the 2.8, but, so, you know, there's, I think, a technical issue, but I'm going to trust that they're going to be able to address this. It's still relief for the taxpayers, which I support. Again, my only issue with the bill is that it's a very limited 180-day period. We don't need to test anything because we know exactly the amounts that it would affect in revenue. We know exactly. We know that it's going to be $8 million a year, and for the rest of this fiscal year only, it's going to be 2.8 million. And so we know that if we know the amount, we can, in FY23 budget deliberations and in every budget deliberation after that, address that. But more importantly, by limiting the 180 days, it really does, it just limits the amount of relief we are giving. It limits the message that we are sending. It limits our promise, at least while we have excess revenues for the last 5 years, and the current excess revenues are exceeding $80 million. And I'm saying it's not enough, 180 days. It's some, but it's not enough for what they're facing and what they're going to be facing in the long run. And so I just feel like if they are going to be facing these issues in the long run, let's show them and commit that we are going to be with them in the long run. And especially since we can afford to do that. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Speaker Tulahi. Senator Peres. Senator Shelton. Vice Speaker. Senator Brown. Senator Titagui.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I have an amendment. I'm going to do the same amendment attempted that on the last legislation that was introduced. And this is on the Google Drive. It's on line 22. I only have one, so it's line 22, page 3. A new section 7 is added, and all subsequent sections are renumerated to read. Section 7 used the program Salapi, Adudan y Tautau, notwithstanding any of the provisions of law or rule or regulation, Maga'hågan Guåhan has the option to open a second round of program Salapi, Adudan y Tautau, implemented through Executive Order 202203, using ARP funding to augment the purpose of this act, and legal to request to make any necessary changes to ensure clarity and consistency regarding this amendment, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Titagui. This is the same amendment that I ruled as not germane in the previous bill, so I'm going to rule the same way. On the amendment, I am ruling that this amendment is not germane to this bill. Senator Titagui.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I think, it's been a long day to discuss, a very long day, and I think we got about another hour or 2 hours just to finally finalize this bill, or these bills that we spoke about. But because of that, I'm not complaining at all about the long day, because it's something that we need to do as a body to assist our community in their time of need. I just wish that my amendments had gone through, because it doesn't force the governor at all to tell her or mandate her at all to do this, to open up a second round of program Salapi. It doesn't do that. It gives her the option, notwithstanding other provisions of law, the option. And it's a big difference. We have no control of that ARP funding, which still sits in a balance of $320 million still sitting there. This money was supposed to be used for the people of Guam in their time of need. And that's not what's happening. We talk about how there, the excess revenue that's coming in and the additional funding. That sounds fine if you, but if you look at the rainy day fund, how much is in the rainy day fund? The balance in the rainy day fund is 0. And I challenge my colleagues, go online, look online and look at all the other states and territories and look how much funding they have in their rainy day fund. Quite a bit. But we don't have any of that, and one day it's going to rain hard here. We need as much help and assistance as we can, and this funding, the ARP funding, it'll expire in 2024. So I ask my colleagues, to please consider and appreciate their signatures on the letter that we'll be sending to the governor as well. But to consider to be very financially responsible as we move forward. Because it's not going to continue to rain from the federal government, that's for sure. So thank you, Mr. Chair, for your indulgence and appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Senator Tyree. Senator Blas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I have no amendments to proffer this time. However, I just need to be able to, and I appreciate what was presented on testimonies and what my colleagues have said in this round. And I have to agree that, what we have before us is something that is immediate, something we can provide immediate relief for. And, if you can recall in my round of questioning to the panel was the idea of extending the moratorium or even changing the formula out so that the moratorium was based on a price. But I have to agree with the gentlelady from Santa Rita in that what's before us today is the help that the people need tomorrow. Okay? And if we can provide that relief tomorrow and look at it over the next 180 days, and even inside of the 180 days, if it is necessary, if we see the need, that it needs to be extended, we can always come back in here and extend it. I don't want that to be a sticking point to the help that we can provide our people tomorrow. And when I say tomorrow, it's not necessary because it still has to go to the governor and it still has to get signed and whatnot. I just don't want to be anything to be a sticking point to get to the help that people need as quick as we can. So I'm amendable to that. And I'm amendable to being able to visit and to continue to closely monitor this and look at other ways we can help our people. We spent almost 10 hours in here talking about, if you think about it, 24 cents. Okay? And it will help, but there's more that can be done. But as was stated earlier, let's get the people the help for the things that we can control right now. And what we can control right now is that 24 cents. Let's get the help to them now. But let's continue to monitor and let's continue to look for ways to help them again. Because as was stated by my colleague to my right, if you really think about it, there is enough money in that other pot of money that would have made this whole conversation moot. But thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to speak. And thank you for the author of the legislation for putting this together and giving me an opportunity to also co-sponsor. I must say, too, that, you know, the previous legislation was just as compelling as well. But my vote is going to be on getting the help to people, get it to them as quick as possible. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Blas. Senator San Augustine,
And I'll just do the closing while I'm at it.
you may close.
Okay. First, I'll make my closing, then I'll ask for an amendment to add sponsors, co-sponsors to the bill. All right? Thank you, Mr. Chair and colleagues, for the opportunity to discuss Bill 295-36. This measure shows the people of Guam that we are listening to their cries. We as legislature are doing our ultimate best to ensure we provide our people the help they need. This moratorium on liquid fuel tax provides us the opportunity to assess the impact of fuel prices on our island, identify ways on how we can alleviate the high price of fuel locally. It is out of our control on how fuel prices increase globally, but we can control fuel prices locally, and this measure is that mechanism. It is right and just that we provide this relief for our people as our island is slowly recovering from the impact of the COVID pandemic. We cannot take one step forward and take 2 steps back. I hope for the affirmative votes of my colleagues on this measure. It's about the people of Guam, and that's all that matters. And with that, I'd like to ask that the following colleagues be added on to the bill: Senator Tello Taitigui, Senator Joanne Brown, and I'd actually ask that all be added to the bill unless they choose to wave their hand. Okay, so it'll be Senator Tello Taitigui, Senator Joanne Brown, and Senator Therese Terlai, who had mentioned that she's supportive of the bill. Thank you.
Sorry, Senator San Augustine, could you repeat again your motion and which senators you're adding as co-sponsors to the bill?
Senator Tello Taitigui, Senator Joanne Brown, and Senator Therese Terlai, and Senator Delina Nelson, and Senator Paris.
On that motion, are there any objections? Seeing none, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maybe I can make the motion now.
You may proceed.
I move that Bill 295-36, as amended by the Committee on General Government Operation, Appropriation, Housing, with the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole, be placed on the 3rd reading file.
On that motion, are there any objections? Seeing none, motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I'd actually ask that also if they're going to provide me the motion to rise, so we can vote on both bills.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to rise from the Committee of the Whole with the recommendation that Bill 261-36 LS as substitute and amended in the Committee of the Whole be placed on 3rd reading, and Bill 295-36 LS as amended by the Committee on General Government Operation, Appropriation, Housing, and further amended in the Committee of the Whole be placed on the 3rd reading file.
On that motion, are there any objections? Seeing none, motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I also ask that, because we're going to rise, is that we will be able to move to vote on these 2 bills, and then we can decide how we're going to entertain the other 2 bills. Thank you. Without engrossment.
Senator San Augustine, that motion will have to be made outside of the Committee of the
All
Whole
right,
now that we've
thank
risen.
you.
It can
I
be
will.
made with,
So then it's still motion to rise.
yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Motion carried.
We're back from recess. Senator San Augustine, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to report back to the body after deliberation of Bill 261-36 LS as substitute amended in the Committee of the Whole and Bill 295-36 LS as amended by the Committee on General Government Operation, Appropriation, Housing, and further amended in the Committee of the Whole with the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole to be placed on the third reading file.
On that motion to place the bills on the third reading file, is there any objection? Seeing no objection, motion carries. Senator San Augustine.
Madam Speaker, notwithstanding the House rule, I move to go to the third reading file to act on bills number 261-36 and bill 295-36 without engrossment.
Is there any objection to that motion? Seeing no objection, motion carries. We're now on the third reading file. Madam Clerk, when you're ready, please read the title.
Bill number 261-36 LS, as substituted and amended in the Committee of the Whole, introduced by Therese M. Terlahi, Sabina Flores Perez, Amanda L. Shelton, James C. Moylan, Christopher M. Duenas, Joanne Brown, Telo T. Taigui. An act to amend Section 26403 of Article 4 and repeal Article 5, both of Chapter 26, Title 11, Guam Code Annotated, relative to eliminating the liquid fuel tax on all fuel except liquid fuel used for commercial aviation purposes.
Colleagues, please note this is the title without engrossment. Roll call.
Senator Ada.
Majority Leader, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to make a motion that we excuse members not present.
On the motion to excuse members not present, is there any objection? Seeing no objection, motion carries.
Senator Ada excused. Senator Blas. Senator Blas pass. Senator Brown. Senator Brown, aye. Senator Duenas. Senator Duenas, aye. Senator Moylan. Senator Moylan, aye. Vice Speaker Muñoz-Barnes. Vice Speaker Muñoz-Barnes pass. Senator Nelson. Senator Nelson pass. Senator Perez. Senator Perez, aye. Senator Rangel. Senator Rangel, nay. Senator San Augustine. Senator San Augustine, nay. Senator Shelton. Senator Shelton, pass. Senator Taigui. Senator Taigui, pass. Senator Terlahi. Senator Terlahi, excuse. Speaker Terlahi. Speaker Terlahi, aye. Senator Torres. Senator Torres, nay. Senator Blas. Senator Blas, pass. Vice Speaker Muñoz-Barnes. Vice Speaker Muñoz-Barnes, pass. Senator Nelson. Senator Nelson, pass. Senator Shelton. Senator Shelton, pass. Senator Taigui. Senator Taigui, aye. Senator Blas. Senator Blas, pass, nay. Vice Speaker Muñoz Barnes. Vice Speaker Muñoz Barnes, pass, nay. Senator Nelson. Senator Nelson, nay. Senator Shelton. Senator Shelton, pass, nay.
Bill number 261-36LS received 6 ayes, 7 nays, and 2 excused. Bill number 261-36LS is duly failed by the body. Bill number 295-36LS. Clerks, please read the title.
Bill number 295-36LS, as amended by the Committee on General Government Operations and Housing, and further amended in the Committee of the Whole. Introduced by Joe S. San Augustine, Tina Rose Muñoz Barnes, Amanda L. Shelton, Jose Pito Terlahi, V. Anthony Atta, Frank Blas Jr., James C. Moylan, Tello T. Taitagui, Joanne Brown, Therese M. Terlahi, Talina Cruz Nelson, Sabina Flores Perez. An act to temporarily waive the levy of excise taxes, automotive surcharges, and mass transit automotive surcharges on liquid fuel for 180 calendar days. To amend subsection J1 of Section 1, Chapter 5 of Public Law 36-54, relative to the appropriations for the Department of Public Works, and to amend subsection DD1 of Section 1, Chapter 5 of Public Law 36-54, relative to the appropriations for the Guam Regional Transit Authority.
Colleagues, please note that that is the title without engrossment. Roll call.
Senator Atta. Senator Atta, excused. Senator Blas. Senator Blas, aye. Senator Brown. Senator Brown, aye. Senator Duenas. Senator Duenas, aye. Senator Moylan. Senator Moylan, aye. Vice Speaker Muñoz Barnes. Vice Speaker Muñoz Barnes, aye. Senator Nelson. Senator Nelson, aye. Senator Perez. Senator Perez, aye. Senator Rogel. Senator Rogel, nay. Senator San Augustine. Senator San Augustine, aye. Senator Shelton. Senator Shelton, aye. Senator Taitagui. Senator Taitagui, pass. Senator Terlahi. Senator Terlahi, excused. Speaker Terlahi. Speaker Terlahi, aye. Senator Torres. Senator Torres, aye. Senator Taitagui. Senator Taitagui, aye.
Bill number 295-36LS received 12 ayes, 1 nay, and 2 excused. Bill number 295-36 LS is duly passed by the body. We've exhausted our third reading file. Majority Leader, you are recognized. (10 a.m.)
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to make a motion that we recess it until 10 a.m.
Objection.
There's a motion to recess until 10 a.m. on Monday,
Objection.
and there's an objection. On Monday, right? Is your motion?
That's correct, Madam
All
Speaker.
right, motion to recess until 10 a.m. on Monday, there's an objection.
Please raise your hand.
All in favor of the motion to recess until 10 a.m. Monday, please raise your hand.
Just
The motion fails. Majority Leader, you are recognized. We're back, I guess, on second reading. Senator Moylan, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, wish to make a motion that Bill 290 be referred back to committee for the purpose of the public hearing.
Notwithstanding the rules, there's a motion notwithstanding the rules that Bill number 290 be referred back to committee. Is there any objection to that motion? Please raise your hand. Seeing no objection, motion carries. Majority Leader, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to make a motion that we recess till 10:30 a.m. Monday morning.
The motion to recess until 10:30 a.m. Is there any objection? Seeing no objection, motion carries. We're in recess until 10:30 a.m. Monday.